Hello everyone and welcome to the last video of 2019. What a year that we had. I want to say a huge thank you to all the freedom fighting Brexiteers for supporting this channel, but also the cause in general. It's been a crazy emotional rollercoaster with all the ups and downs of the Brexit saga. They said we can't do it. They said the Remainers control Parliament forever. They said we can't even get an election. And even if we do get an election, Boris is not going to win because apparently the whole country is now pro-Remain. But we did it, and Brexit is finally coming home. And for the first time ever, we actually have all Brexiteers uniting behind the same team and the same cause. Nigel Farage, the Brexit Party, the Tories. Now, obviously, it's not finished yet. We have to make sure that we hold the government to account to get a proper Brexit. But the debate from now on is going to be about post-Brexit Britain, when it comes to reforming the Supreme Court, the House of Lords, the BBC TV license, the NHS, and draining the swamp of the establishment in the civil service. And that's why I actually sat down with Talk Radio's Mike Graham to discuss all this and just see what happened, how did we get here in the last 12 months and where we're going. But before we actually move to that clip, as I promised to you guys, because of your support, and we are now obviously at 100,000 subscribers, we are doing a big party, a big Brexit event on the 15th of January. That's Wednesday, the 15th of January at 7 o'clock in central London. We are just finalising details. We have the venue and we have a lot of guest speakers for you guys, a lot of big Brexit politicians and activists that you already have heard of. They're all going to be there. What I'm going to be doing, obviously, follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the details here. I'll post it there, but I'll also do a one-off video just for the details of the event on the channel as well. So make sure that if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified when I release that video. And now let's move to the discussion I had with Mike Graham.
Tousi, who is the foremost and only prominent conservative YouTuber in the entire land. Maya, very good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. You've had a particularly busy last few days. You appeared on the overnight Talk Radio election night special, which was a great success. And I think it's probably fair to say we were in quite buoyant mood, were we not, when we saw the results of the exit poll and then what followed afterwards?
Yeah, and I was definitely sober.
Well, you were certainly one of the sober people. I'm not sure everybody on the show was, to be honest, but we best not mention any names.
Yeah, no. No, it was interesting because throughout the whole campaign, I was always one of the optimistic voices out there saying, actually, we're still going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I kept getting like more nervous and nervous. And about 9:55 p.m. on the night, 5 minutes before the exit poll, I was actually shaking. I didn't know what to expect anymore.
No, I was exactly the same because, of course, as we've now discovered, Twitter is not a very good place to follow
Britain,
politics.
That's just
because I mean, I saw today a graphic which was put out by an organisation about the voting of the young people of this country, and if in fact 18 to 24 votes had been counted, the whole country's red.
Yeah.
Right, which tells you that the Labour kind of recruitment process for the youth of the youth quake is actually working. However, it's just I guess not working enough because I've also spoken to pollsters who say the problem with kind of going after the young vote is that they don't win elections.
No, because they haven't had the incentive to come out properly. And we talked about the youth quake actually on the night on the panel. Yes, there was a failure of having the lack of Corbyn youthquake this time compared to 2017, but doesn't mean there's no left-wing youthquake for Labour. It's still there.
Right.
And I pointed out the problem that for the centre-right parties, including the Tory party, is that if they're not careful, over the next couple of terms, eventually they're going to lose the government. And the moment the Labour Party get into power, the first thing they're going to do is they bring down the voting age.
Yeah.
And by that time, this is the time they had the Tories, from now until then, to make sure basically they get the young people, at least some of them, on their side. Otherwise, they're going to keep voting Labour and the Tories will never be in government.
I mean, the interesting thing for me as well is how middle class these youngsters are. I mean, you would have seen, I'm sure, you may have even been retweeting over the weekend, that dreadful young woman who said that she wanted to go into medicine, she wants to work for the NHS, and she wants to care about people, and it was all F Boris, and you called him the C word. I mean, it's quite shocking, really. If you were her family and you were her parents, if I was her father, I would be embarrassed, you know. And you kind of go in, and she sounded very posh. I mean, I don't really really believe, for example, if you go to the valleys of South Wales or the the mean streets of Newcastle, you might find Labour voters, but they're not Marxists.
No, I grew up on a council estate in Lewisham,
Right.
and the people I was hanging out with as a young person, when I was young.
You're still young to me.
They were either, no comment.
I love all these people who go, oh, I'm 30 now, I feel so old.
so
I'm
old.
like, don't even go there. I spoke to a guy today, actually, who was telling me about how they didn't teach programming and coding when he was learning about computers in school. And I had to say, well, let me tell you, when I was at school, we didn't have computers. So, so long ago that was.
No, but that's the past in terms of young people were either not political, but if they were, they might have been working class or Labour voters, but just casually. Whereas when I went to university, it's a whole different environment.
Yeah.
Like very middle class, it's all because of the academia, the whole environment changes young people.
And universities have become very woke, haven't they? And very
woke,
kind of lefty and almost to the point where you can't even admit to being a Tory.
No, and it's getting worse and worse. I
Yeah.
mean, people were saying back in the 70s was bad, like 80s was bad, universities. It's actually, maybe it's not worse in that way. It is worse on some levels, but it's also social media. Because we have the internet, we see that more often. It's more magnified.
It's much more toxic now, it seems to me. I mean, even in the old days, when I was at FE College, which is where I went before I went to university to do my A-levels, my economics lecturer was a communist. So I started the Young Conservatives Club just to piss him off. I didn't really do it because I wanted to be a conservative. But, nobody then harangued me and harassed me. But I imagine if you tried to do something like that now, you'd probably be chased out of the building and you'd probably be banned from doing it. You certainly wouldn't be able to do it in the student union building.
So their priorities have changed, and the other policies that they were giving out, the whole economic left-wing policy, the free stuff, they didn't care as much. They were treating them as bribing. We're going to give you free stuff, like free unicorns. But the priority for us is to talk about the cultural left-wing stuff. And
to try and demonise the Tories. You don't want to be a Tory because that's horrible. That means you're a horrible individual.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely horrible, apparently.
You had a recent incident, did you not, where your number was posted somewhere?
So, last night there was a group chat with Momentum, and they basically, someone found my number. They shared it there, and then they actually said, this is my ITC. It's his fault that we lost the election.
Right.
And
of course it's your fault.
So call him. It's me, Laura Kuenssberg, Israel, McDonald's. It's all
well, I've seen some of them talking about some kind of Israeli conspiracy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To stop Jeremy Corbyn getting in. I mean, really, I think Mossad have got some better things to do.
The funny thing is, I can't really blame the Russians this time because Russia was behind Labour.
Yes, that's always a tricky one. So, did you get a lot of nuisance calls then? What did they say when you picked up the phone?
Well, last night, I had a number of calls, and luckily I had some popcorn at home, so I was eating my popcorn and just listening.
Put him on the speaker.
It
was it just a stream of abuse or something?
Yeah, it was like a radio show, just like without me talking, it was just them ranting.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? But I've found the Labour Party have been so bad. Before the election, during the election as well. I mean, I was talking to quite a lot of their front benchers because they, for some reason, liked coming on my show. And we
Lisa and Andy.
And we would create Lisa and Andy. Well, I'm horrified to see that she might be the new leader, because I'm going to have another conversation with her and ask her about the deal that she wants now, which she said there didn't exist.
Deal now,
there was no deal. Angela Rayner, for heaven's sake. I mean, can you imagine any of these people in charge of the Labour Party? I mean, it'll be quite funny, I suppose, because they'll be just as bad as Corbyn. I can't think of anyone that they've got that would be able to win an election against Boris Johnson.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. And I was getting worried when we got the majority and Brexit's getting done. I was like, what about my channel? What am I going to talk about? But now we're going to have the leadership, the Labour leadership, which is going to be absolutely chaotic.
Right.
And it's going to be probably worse than what the US Democrats are going through with finding their nominee for next year. And all the options.
Well, it's going to be very factional, isn't it? You're going to be Emily Thornberry.
Yeah, you got the Remainer side, Emily Thornberry and Keir Starmer.
Except you say she's a Remainer. I mean, I saw a video at the weekend where she was basically flip-flopping backwards and forwards. I think they had about 15 different clips. One said Remain, one said second referendum, one said, well, of course we're going to get out, that's what the people want. Next one was, no, we don't give it back to the people. No, I'm absolutely certain on this that we will be leaving on March the 29th. There's no question about it. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And then they wonder why people didn't like their Brexit policy.
Well, they think if they multitask, people will find them skillful. But actually, in reality, they need to just pick one position.
Yeah.
Whatever the position was, even if it was second referendum, from day one, go out and proudly say that you're going to be anti-democracy.
Right.
And some people like it.
Well,
I mean, you're still going to lose.
It didn't do much for the Lib Dems, to be fair.
But they went too far.
They've now ended up with actually fewer MPs than they had before they got all the rejects from the Tory party and Labour. So they've only got 11 now, right?
Yeah, I think they have 11 now, and I always forget they exist. But yeah, apparently that's a
Well,
real
it's easy
party
to
as well.
do now because, of course, there was a time not that long ago, maybe 2 months ago, when they were predicting that they might get another 300 MPs in the next election.
Our future Prime Minister Jo Swinson.
Our future Prime Minister Jo Swinson, who now apparently wants to be a Dame because she wants to be parachuted into the House of Lords, which apparently, and this was one of the things actually that riled a lot of people this morning on my show, because people are like, hang on a minute, so this woman loses her seat because she's an anti-democrat, because she refuses to carry out the will of the people. She's now going to be able to get back into public payroll by being nominated in the Queen's New Year's Honours list to become a member of the House of Lords. I mean, it shouldn't be a possible
It's
thing.
ridiculous. The minimum reform we could do with the Lords is to stop politicians from going in there.
Yeah.
Like the actual House of Commons politicians. Let's stop doing that.
I think they should. I mean, I hope
It makes
Boris.
no
Well, I
sense.
mean, from the early kind of indications of what Boris Johnson's going to do, we know that he's going to have a look at the civil service.
Yes.
We know that he's going to have to sort of take a sword to the red tape of all of that. First up is defence, we think. He's going to try and improve the border force. He's going to try and put some money and investment into the north of England because to hang on to those voters. And he's going to do stuff to the NHS. I don't know what he's going to do to the NHS. Do you?
Well, but the NHS, just throw more money at it.
But that's another thing. We just can't keep doing that.
I think the best thing to do, and I think we've had some smart Tory politicians in the past where you invest into it, but then you slowly reform it without realising. Whereas the problem we had in 2010, the first government, was that they were publicly saying we're reforming it, so that didn't go well. But you were right about Boris Johnson. From what we've heard, is they targeting a few things, which is really good. They're looking at the TV licence. They're looking at
that's going to be frightening the hell out of the BBC.
That's going to be interesting.
Right?
And they're also looking at politicising the Supreme Court,
so
that they don't really get involved with like random political stuff, which is useful. And obviously the civil service. And now next we're going to have to look at everything else that's going to House of Lords and everything else with the establishment.
Because now that they've got a big enough majority, there's a lot they could do, isn't there? I mean, and they might as well use the time and the power that they've got to do those things, because they could presumably start suggesting, well, how about we cap the House of Lords for the moment, because it's got too many people in it. It's grown to some ridiculous number, like 800 and something, I think.
It's quite a lot.
And more and more people go in, and they're not dying as quickly as they used to. So I'm afraid, you know, there's not even enough room for all of them, I don't think, you know. But the BBC, I think, is fascinating as well, because, I mean, after the Channel 4, one of the things that we laughed about on Thursday night when we saw each other was the way that the big main sort of networks were handling this terrible tragedy, because it looked like they were handling a tragedy. You know, John Bercow, who apparently was paid 60 grand by Sky for one night. It's a lot of money, isn't it? And I actually think Boris is going to be a good Prime Minister, because I think he's got the sort of the vision for it, which he showed when he's got a very good team around him. Dominic, great picture of him and Dominic Cummings and Carrie celebrating.
Well, that's what I was thinking that on the night when you and I, in a number of shows throughout the last few months, we kept saying, throughout the whole Brexit process and everything, and people were panicking. We said, don't worry, guys.
The evil genius has got it.
He's coming home.
Yeah. And funnily enough, I was talking to somebody from the Brexit Party who told me that, you know, oh no, Dominic's not involved anymore. You know, he's behind
he got
the
fired,
scenes.
he's left.
He's only really there for Brexit. He's not involved in the election campaign.
No.
Well, I don't think so.
No.
And it's now looking like this is he is an evil genius, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say evil because I know things about him that I'm not saying.
Well, the only thing evil about him is his fashion sense.
Yes.
He needs to sort that out.
That is quite evil. And coming from you, who are always impeccably dressed, I would have to say he should take some advice on that. Because I watched your video, which I think you put out on Friday night, in front of a Christmas tree. It's very funny. And you looked absolutely shot, shattered. You know, hadn't slept, I think you said, for 3 days.
Yeah, since Wednesday.
Right.
I still haven't slept properly.
Really?
Well, mainly because of the prank calls that are
yeah, well, that's nice. Well, presumably that will wear off.
I hope not. It's fun.
I think the same thing has happened to Julie Hartley-Brewer. After a while, it's just they lose interest and they stop.
It didn't work on her either, because she enjoys it. She's like, come on.
Well, she's the same. I mean, you know, they think that we're sitting here, you know, doing the job that we do, and we're like them, snowflakes. We're not. You know, you can do as much as you like. You can come at me in any way, shape, or form. But you might have to expect to get something back, because that's the way it goes.
Right, thanks for watching, and thanks again for being here throughout this whole journey. Now, it's Christmas time, so stop being on YouTube. Go spend some time with your family and friends, and hope you have a great Christmas and everything else. And I will see you guys in January.